1, 2, 3. Tag me in
podcast. Back again with another episode. You're joined by myself, Ola, in Birmingham.
Why are we in Birmingham? Why are we in Birmingham, Ola?
Introduce yourself. I'll tell him. Go on.
What do you mean?
Introduce yourself.
What? I'm from Birmingham.
From Birmingham. We are in Birmingham. We came up here to see an amazing, legendary, seasoned property investor, entrepreneur, all the things in one word. The amazing Rod. We're joined here with you. You're joined here with us.
Thank you for coming up to see me.
Yeah, we came up to Birmingham and we wanted to have, I guess, a discussion, a talk on everything that you've been doing. You're obviously known in the property sphere, property space for the investments you've done, serviced accommodation, HMOs, all of that amazing thing. And off the back of this conversation, there's this sort of WhatsApp group which you created a while back that kind of brings together people who are interested in all things property to come together, share ideas, support each other, and just encourage each other. And having been part of that group, and I'm sure you can attest to this as well, Anton, as well, it has been just amazing to be. I'll be honest, for a lot of the last probably year and a bit, I've been very intimidated by the group, but in a positive way, in that because people are doing so well in that group, for me it's like, oh wow, this person's done so much. Just seeing people come together, like you said, it can be done, and it's given me.
It's all about inspiring people.
Precisely.
Really. If I can do it,
anyone can do it. Yeah, and that's one thing that I've definitely sort of taken away. So I just thought it made perfect sense for us to kind of come together and have a discussion about all that's involved in property, giving people a kind of like holistic but realistic picture of what it takes to get involved in property. So the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the goods, the bad, the £1 coffee, and like all the different aspects that kind of go into it. And there's so much to unpack. So like, I'm just like, let's just kind of get in. But I guess to sort of start, and I'll give you like a mini little intro. How do you see yourself? Because I know would you say you're a property investor, more entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur. Like I say, when I was 9 years old, I used to find old bikes and make a bike and sell them.
Yeah.
I was 9 years old, so that stopped. When my mum told me people knocked on my door selling bikes. So, but I used to. My mum bought me a tape recorder. I used to record the charts and sell cassettes.
So you got that entrepreneurial energy from a long time.
Yeah. So I've always love money. Why should I be embarrassed about loving money?
No, you shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't be.
I think
I love money. What money can do for you.
It's the power. Yeah. I think for a lot of people growing up, money was seen as this kind of like taboo kind of subject.
It's your relationship with money. There's a lot of talk about like how do you see money. So a lot of people say money doesn't grow on trees, and that sort of language gets to people, and they have that kind of, I don't know, relationship with money where they're like, I don't have enough, and
it's the negative terms
of money. There's so much money out there to be made. It's just how much energy.
I don't actually need any more money as such. What I love is when I take a property that is like a proper shithole that nobody wants, and people come and view it, and I have 20 viewing requests. Crazy. And like the landlord next door gets 500 and I get 650. Hey. I love that. Because all my life, people tell me you won't get that price for that house. No way you'll get that, and I'll get more than they ask. Or landlords who've told me that. Sorry, estate agents that told me that's maximum is 500. You won't get more than 500, and I've got 750.
But what kind of pushes you to go beyond? How do you know it's going to make more than that when you're going?
Because I do it to a high standard. If next door is totally empty with threadbare carpet, right, and mine's got a coffee machine, brand new beds, and it's dressed, and it's got pictures on the wall, and it looks. Tenants need to picture themselves living in your property. I've seen properties on Rightmove with urine stains on the mattress, and they've got them on Rightmove.
Crazy.
That's disgusting.
Because I zoom in and I'm thinking, have they really put a mattress?
It's disgusting. And it rents out.
No, it's 3 months later. An example, one of my properties, mine rented within 3 days, and mine was £100 a month more. This one that was less money with a mattress on the floor, 3 months later, it's still available. Yeah. What tenants want to pay you £400 for a room to sleep on a mattress on the floor?
It says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It gives them an idea. Going back to the point you mentioned about I guess that sort of entrepreneurial spirit and kind of fixing bikes at 9. Was there ever anyone who you kind of looked up to? Because with a lot of people and a lot of stories that I listen to on podcasts and interviews with all these people like Warren Buffett and the Bill Gates and whoever it is, a lot of them usually have some form of inspiration, whether that's, you know, a parent or an uncle or an aunt or someone that they just see in the media that inspires them to chase and achieve that dream. Was that ever the case with you?
Before I even read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Which is a great
I had
book,
a rich dad who was my uncle. I went to America when I was 16 and I worked with my uncle who was a property developer, and he's done quite well. And I saw how well he was doing. So I came back from America at 16. I wanted to be a landlord.
What do you want to be when you're older? Landlord.
Landlords.
But, you know, before I even read it, but he was my rich dad. You know, because, you know, you got rich dad, poor dad. You your dad, get a job, work in a factory. You know, my uncle who used to be a bus driver here and he's done really well in America, you know.
How long were you out there for?
I was just over 6 weeks holiday. You know,
It was
6
enough
weeks.
to be like so much of an impact in your life to make you start.
When you're an entrepreneur, I went over there at 16 years old. The thing I took away from there was property and also pizza delivery. I came back 16. I thought, that is wicked, delivering a pizza. You know,
Like the money. Like,
I was 16 years old. I was going. I wanted to open a pizza shop. There was no pizza deliveries in them days, right? And I got a grant from the council to get some experts in to help me. Basically, I had to take on 2 business partners, and they were going to fund it.
Yeah.
The 2 business partners I took on, I was doing all the work. Eventually, it didn't happen. But 3 of the shops that I looked at were opened by Gino's Dialer Pizza, who sold out to Perfect Pizza.
Oh my God.
So I was on the right track and looking at the right locations. They sold out to Perfect Pizza for something like not millions.
Yeah.
What age was that?
I was 16.
16.
Yeah. But you know, you got the ideas, but if you haven't got the right, you know,
funding or the
people say,
backing.
don't be silly, you can't open a shop.
No, yes, you can.
Yeah.
16. Can you remember what you were doing at 16?
Trying to decide what I was going to do for college.
Yeah,
Doing
it was A levels.
different, yeah.
It was A levels or what trainings I wanted to wear.
Everywhere I go, I always take up ideas. When I went to Belgium when I was 15 with my parents, I saw these chickens on a spit roast. And I thought, that's a wicked idea. And I always had it in my head. And when I was 30 years old, I opened a shop that sold chickens on a spit roast. You know? So, you know, wherever I go, you know, when you go wherever you travel, I pick up ideas.
Yeah.
So you've always been picking up on
Yeah.
ideas.
So
So
it took me 15 years to do it, you know. But.
when did the property start? Because
An example. Again, I'm dyslexic, so I don't really read books. But I used to, believe it, for a dyslexic person, I used to read the Sunday Times.
okay.
It's there I discovered number plates
Okay.
that were worth some money.
Oh, we
that's
saw
the
your
thing.
license plate.
Listen to the. There's a guy at work when I was 17 years old. There's a guy at work selling a registration with the number 4 VBF,
Okay.
and he was selling it for £120. This bike, so I bought this motorbike off this guy for 120 grand. 120,000. 120 pounds.
I was about to say,
I bought it off for £120. I put an advert in the Sunday Times, which cost me 1 week's wages.
Yeah.
And I sold that motorbike with the registration plate to a company called Venture Business Forms for equivalent to, I think it was about, I don't remember, it was obviously £3,500 or £4,000. Well, that was a 25% deposit to buy a house. So I was a landlord at 19 years old. Yeah.
You've got a story.
Yeah. But that's it, by reading the right information. Again, the Sunday Times has got lots of property. I'm into cars.
Yeah.
And I'm into property. The Sunday Times got loads of pictures to look at. It's influenced me. I used to see houses or flats for sale in London for 80 grand. I think, wow. Then a few months later, I was thinking, isn't that the same street? And it's 90 grand now. So I've always...
observation.
I love the Sunday Times. I still buy it now and then, actually. Because I love property.
Just having
really,
a look. Oh, so at 19 you're a landlord.
Yeah, HMO landlord. And again, that's how again, high yielding properties. All the other landlords used to get £15 a room. I got 20 because I put a TV in and a washing machine, which is unheard of. So I got 25% more rent per week just by putting a TV, because no landlords did it in those days.
But was that the mindset? Was it the mindset of no one else is doing it? I'm going to do this.
No, I was thinking, why don't I just put it? I didn't even think.
But you probably was thinking, would you live in there, and what would you?
Yeah, every place I do up, I try to do it to a standard that I would live in myself.
Yeah.
Obviously, I make some mistakes, but
Yeah, you do.
but yeah.
So, like, when it comes to property, like, what was your whole motivation of going into it? I guess it's seeing your uncle and seeing how he does.
Yeah.
But, like, I guess a lot of people around you will kind of question what you're doing.
Oh yeah, all I've got is you're too young. You can't be a landlord. You're too young. What do you want 2 houses for? You're only 21.
Yeah.
Why are you buying that ex-council house? It's rough around there. You know, that's all I've ever got. I still get it now. Why? You know what I mean?
Still till this day.
Yeah, but I just take that
get
notice.
on with it.
Negative.
Yeah. And was that from like friends and family, or just people sort of around?
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, I guess times have changed. So I'm 28. Ola's 28 as well.
Yeah, I'm 28. Yeah.
And like, there's this whole thing where, personally, I feel a lot of people are thinking about their first residential property, and then they're going to be in a 9 to 5, and that's going to be them for the rest of their life. But then, I guess with technology and YouTube and education out there starts to be this whole other world that you can go into, especially property. And like, for me, I started my property journey probably last March. And the amount of education that I got from then to now has just been so much.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so there's so much free stuff out there. You know.
Yeah, there
The
is.
education, and I have to echo what Ola was saying about your WhatsApp group. In terms of the people, so it's other landlords sharing like what they're up to, what they plan to do. It's real insightful and it's inspiring in its own way.
Which is good to hear, because I don't really hear it. It's nice for you to...
We're the silent ones.
Yeah. No, but it's good to hear the positive stuff, because sometimes I just hear the negative. It's good to hear the positive. People who've been influenced by me and they've gone out and done a 1 to 2 bedroom conversion. And people who've been influenced by me, they've, instead of buying a new car, they're buying a house. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that,
But I think that's the mindset thing as well, because I think without that visibility, without knowing there's people doing that, a lot of people would be like, well, what am I going to do with this money? I either put it in the bank or buy a nice
1%.
car. 1%
If
interest.
that, yeah.
So like, if someone was starting out and they was thinking about getting into property, where would you say, they should start?
To me, I know everybody's is a bit of a bandwagon, but rent to rent is a brilliant strategy.
So that's when you take one property from a landlord.
So listen, example of one of the properties. A property I was looking at, the deposit, the refurb, and all the fees was going to cost me £40,000. Yeah. Or I can just rent it for £500 a month, and that's
Yeah. And you can pocket.
Yeah. So if you've been working for a few years, surely you should, if you're not into trainers, surely you should have £5,000 in the bank.
Yeah, something saved up. Yeah.
The amount of tenants I know who've got 150 pairs of trainers worth thousands, haven't paid the rent.
And they got the nice.
And so get out of that mindset about, they love the flash cars and the nice trainers. Save that money, invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself.
Yeah. Education as well. Education goes far. Because
really
going back onto Rich Dad Poor Dad, I remember, I think my uncle gave it to me when I was like 11 years old.
Wow, really?
But it didn't really make sense. I got part of it, but it didn't really make sense. And then I read it again when I was probably 21, and I was like, cash flow. Cash flow is king.
Well, this is SA, cash flow.
Yeah.
Cash flow.
There's loads of strategies out there.
And you're learning all the while, learning.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, actually, how many landlords are up. If you've got to be likeable. Because somebody approached me for a rent to rent, and I wasn't even thinking about it, but the lady was a really nice lady. And
the right energy.
The right energy. And I thought, let me give her a go.
Yeah.
And, if you approach me with the right energy and, you say, I would give you a go.
Yeah.
So don't go there with, they're not going to listen to me. I've got no property. I'm only a newbie. If you go with that mindset that they're not going to, have you heard the, what's it called? The Secret.
Yeah.
If you say to yourself, that landlord's not interested, he won't give me a deal.
It's the right
He's not
framework.
You've got to go with it. Yeah, head up right.
So law of attraction, believe that you can do it. And
pull it out
of course.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think there's a position now where if someone's looking at investment property, they're thinking they have to put in 25% deposit, and that's enough to stop people because.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why don't you, instead of sitting there with your £5,000 and after 2 years you might have £7,000, get it to work for you.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in try and do things. Find a like-minded business partner. You know, because I've taken a business partner now, somebody I met off the WhatsApp group,
Yeah.
and we're both doing okay. Now we're doing
Great.
yeah. You know what I mean?
All this, I definitely hear what you're saying, and I think I love hearing your story that you've done amazingly, and you know, landlord at 19 and all these amazing things. And that was what, back in
1982.
1982. Property market since then, a lot has happened.
Yeah,
So 2020, 1980, a lot has happened. If you could go back then, or if you were, say, that same age now, so 1920, do you think you could recreate everything you've achieved now? Not to say, I'm purely based on the property market. So based on how popular
Could I do
property
it now?
is. Yeah.
It's much harder to get a mortgage now. When I started out, there wasn't any buy-to-let mortgages, but you'd have Halifax, Bristol and West. You'd have 4 different. But remember them days? They didn't have computers. I didn't do these people, but
Quick caveat.
but you could have 4 different mortgages with different building sizes. Yeah,
For like one property?
no, for different properties.
Okay.
Because they didn't have computers. Nobody spoke to each other.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, I know people have.
yeah.
I didn't do that because I just didn't. I wish I had. But nobody spoke to each other. You could have loads of different more, you know.
Yeah.
And they used
Now
to.
it's on your credit note. They know that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got
it's all kind of-
discount.
And
down.
again, another. It is very hard now. It is very hard. But I proved it that you can still find the bargains out there.
Yeah.
Like the convert. You know, the one I did, the 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom. The bargains are out there. You just
Yeah.
need to open your eyes
And just
know
look.
what to look for.
Yeah.
You know, they are there. Most of my bargains I've found on Rightmove.
Right, me.
Yeah, not auction. Auction's
Just
the most
have a look.
expensive.
That's
Yeah,
the
this-
other thing, because a lot of people think auction's the next place to go. and blah, blah,
I've seen
blah.
properties go at auction for more than they
are,
would
yeah.
in normal. Seriously,
normal, yeah, I see that a lot. I see that a lot.
yeah. Because people, so many people, it's the some people watch Homes Under the Hammer.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
that's
So
the one.
they
That's the
see
one.
it,
Apparently, yeah.
they see a wreck, they think, oh, we're going to make a fortune. They don't do their sums. Hang on,
Yeah.
if I pay that much for it and my stamp duty, and I spend £30,000 when I could buy one next door for £20,000 less, already done up.
Yeah.
They just think they're going to make a. You know,
It's the whole, it's
Yeah.
the glamorized kind of aspect of it. But I
Yeah.
guess also, and this is just more for myself and the people who maybe aren't familiar with a lot of the strategies. So you mentioned SA. Can you just explain what that is? So for people listening, thinking, what's an SA? What's a HMO? There are all these different terms that have come in, because I think for me it was just you either buy a house
Single.
or you had a single buy to let. And then since then there've just been all these new different strategies of getting into
but my
property.
very first property I bought was an HMO, but obviously it wasn't called that. It was just student.
It was just student house.
Yeah. It's basically taking a house, like mine was a 3-bedroom house, a downstairs reception, and renting it to 4 students.
Yeah.
You know, so basically instead of that house probably would have rented for £100, £150 a month.
Yeah.
But I got 8, 16, 20 a month. I got £300 a month by renting room by room.
By room, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a loads of strategies. So HMO, house of multiple occupancy.
It's the same.
Yeah,
But
taking a big house,
yeah.
4-bedroom house. Maybe it's got 2 reception rooms. Changing one of the reception rooms into a bedroom and renting 5 bedrooms.
So renting
But
out
at the
per room.
moment now, that market is getting quite saturated, so you have to have a high standard.
High standard,
A lot of people are expecting en suites now. The days of, like you said,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
sharing a
Oh,
bathroom.
no.
Sally, you done?
And basically as
Pull
well,
up a window.
people will pay extra for an ensuite. To me, if you were renting a room and one was £400 where you had to share a bathroom with 4 people, or the other one was £500 where you had your own bathroom, which would you rent?
500.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, easy.
the price of a packet of Benson Hedges a week. Isn't it really?
Because really broke it down.
From Expo.
Because then service accommodation is when you take a apartment, right?
But
And then-
apartment or a house,
Or a house.
and you rent it by the night.
Yeah.
If you think about it, why that's taken off so much, like if like so, but you where you work, if like you and 4 of your colleagues were working in Birmingham, and
need a place
your
to
company
stay.
might want to rent, they'd have to rent 2 hotel rooms, which would be £250 a night or something. Or they could rent a whole house for between £150 and £700. You know,
Yeah.
they don't have to give you a food allowance because you come down. Because basically, if they put you in a hotel and travel lodge and you wanted a slice of toast, you got to go and have a breakfast. You know, you wanted a cup of coffee, you got to buy. So the companies have to give a food allowance as well. So it works out much cheaper for them to do service accommodation.
So it's also holiday furnished let is also
Yeah,
the
yeah,
old
yeah.
school terminology of it. And it's really picking up. So the likes of Airbnb, Booking.com, that's what people are using and putting their property on. We're actually in one now.
This is our flagship one. This is
it's nice.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? It's huge.
And I guess another big point I want to mention, and that you sort of mentioned as well, touched on before we were recording, is that with service accommodation, the amount required to get started in that is completely different than, say, a standard mortgage on a HMO.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because it's not the same deposit amount. You don't have to worry about credit. Is that right?
Obviously, if you were buying an HMO, an example, if you were buying a £200,000 HMO, you'd want £50,000 deposits. The fees are going to be £6,000. You know, if you're going to refurb it, if you want to put en suites in and refurb it to a decent standard to make it really, you're talking £50,000. So it'd be £250,000 of it. To a really nice,
a lot of money. Yeah,
you can take these little, you know what I mean, but to a really decent one where you get decent professionals, or for a similar return, you can do service accommodation.
And that's what, probably
and
6,000, 8,000?
To furnish this place would probably be about £5,000. Probably a little bit less.
Yeah.
But this is like a different market. This is like corporate market.
Yeah.
If you go for the contractor market, you could spend a lot less.
Yeah.
They just want clean. You know,
Clean
I put
beds.
Netflix in all of mine. One of them I got billiards thing.
Yeah.
And they're really, you know,
love it,
yeah.
It's crazy when you think about it that you can get into the same market that seems so tough with a smaller amount of money, but still get a similar or even a higher return. And I think it's important because I meet a lot of people who are sort of, they're not yet first-time buyers, they're still saving, and it's sort of like, I want to get on the ladder, I just can't afford it. You know, living in London, they say they're on 30, 40k, they want to get a house, 300, 350, they're looking at minimum. So they need X amount of deposit, 35k, plus the fees you mentioned, refurbishment, and it all adds up. So I think when you mention these things like service accommodation and these other
rent
options,
to rent. You can rent to rent and do HMO.
HMO.
Yeah. Where you rent. There's a lot, because of the tax implication now, there's a lot of landlords selling up now.
Yeah, I've been
and
reading
they can't sell everything. Again, that's
Capital gains tax.
Yeah, it all comes in.
That would be ideal for lease options. Remember we were talking about lease options.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and you've got to find them. They're out there.
Just for people listening, lease option agreements is where you find the landlords in a bit of a sticky situation, tax implications, all the changes, and now they're looking to sell up. And ideally, those are the sort of people you want to go after. And you propose to them that you're going to lease their property for a period of time, probably 3 to 5 years, with an option to purchase that property at the end of that term. And it's a fantastic. You've got to be creative with these solutions.
Of course,
you know? I think that's the big difference that's happening now. And that's one thing I've taken away.
And get a very good lawyer. Because a friend of mine did a lease option on her property and she tried to get out of it because the property had gone up by 50 grand. But this guy had a really good lawyer, and she had to sell it. Had to sell her property, and the guy made 50 grand. She made nothing. You know, but she signed a really good. So don't be doing your own lease option agreement. Pay £1,000 and get a proper lease option solicitor. This friend might have to pay 1,000. I think 50 grand the guy made. But at the time, when he's in negative equity, it suited her at the time. Oh my God. So
she's got to be careful. Yeah,
she's trying to sell.
But they are there. There's people making that. They are out there. Yeah. I'll admit it's not something I've ever done. But I think it's a brilliant idea if you can get them,
Because even if you take on a lease option agreement, you still can rent out as a HMO or service accommodation and still be making cash as.
With a lot of lease options, what people normally do is just pay the mortgage of the person. Yeah. So basically, if you get
£200 extra as well.
Yeah, it's the only strategy that really work. If somebody's in negative equity, you can still help them out.
Yeah.
You know, because hang on, your mortgage is £300. I'll pay your mortgage, so you don't have to worry about it. And in 5 years' time, I'll buy it off it. Yeah. So basically, if it's like on a single let and you're paying the mortgage of £300, you could probably get £600. You're making £300 a month on single let. If you do SA, it could be even a lot more. If you do HMO,
it could be.
But I'm saying basically, even if you just do single lets and just easy life, just one tenant. But if you got 10 of those. That's really good.
It just I mean, sort of based on just like the way property is, and like you mentioned, Anton, it just seems like I think you can be very creative with it, and there are just so many different ways to get involved, get on the bandwagon, be involved in the property kind of aspect. Question: why do you think the UK, compared to other European countries and the world, is so obsessed with property.
I don't
This
know,
is one thing I've never.
Margaret Thatcher, wasn't it? Right to buy. She created a lot of landlords. I know people who are not millionaires, done really well from buying their council house.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I know people who are millionaires. They bought their council house, refinanced it, bought another one, and snowballed from that first. Margaret Thatcher, even though didn't vote Tory, but I admire her actually. She created a lot of wealth, and
That's quite powerful, just from that
They
decision.
say what most millionaires are landlords, based on statistics. So I guess that mindset of understanding that you can make money from owning properties is definitely one that probably quite a lot of people should take away. Because I look at my family line and I'm like, we don't actually own anything.
Yeah.
My grandparents came here like in the 60s. So we've got one house, and then eventually like my aunt and everything, they started owning their own property. But then when I look at other cultures who've been there for a long time, and they got like, you got certain kids like, oh yeah, I've got inheritance, and you're like, huh? How much? 100k? You're like, how did you do that? Oh, my grandma had this place, or
I know so many people haven't got health insurance, life insurance, so we don't leave legacies. How many times do you see GoFundMe pages? People dying. They can't even afford to bury their relatives.
I think that's a good point. I think we should mention that life insurance, like although it's like a monthly cost, it can like protect you in the future. You don't have your kids going around trying to set up GoFundMe page to actually
take care of
your
you.
funeral.
Take care of you. Yeah.
Do you have that thing where you're into trainers? Because
you know what?
It's a big thing, isn't it? Where people have got. Let's say I had one tenant who had 150 pairs of trainers. Right,
really?
But didn't pay the rent.
It's a vice. No, I think a lot of people have got vices where some people is trainers, for others it's going out, some is traveling. Everyone's got a lot. Not everyone. A lot of people. Yeah. I love that. That's a good thing though. It's bringing in income. But no, to that point you mentioned, I remember I had a discussion with my mum, and she sort of, because she's a carer, and she said she was kind of at this family's house, an Indian family, and she said there were quite a few of them in the house, and then they extended around the back, and how they said that they all kind of came together. Saved all their money, lived in that one house, or paying one rent, and then they all just started buying. They bought the house next door, they bought the other one, they built up, they built back, and that's how they kind of build for their families. And my mum sort of said that she regretted not kind of doing that, but she said she just didn't have the knowledge back when they came. They just weren't aware, and I was like, I'm like, you ain't got to worry about that. Like, we have the knowledge now. We're gonna make those moves and make it happen. Like, we have that knowledge. We're gonna take that and go forward. So for me, it's inspiring to see you having done that again with this WhatsApp group. And you're just sharing that knowledge. But to kind of not change things, but I want to understand, it's all good and well seeing all these articles about people making millions, average millionaires, a landlord, whatever it is. I want to know some of the not so great things. So,
if I told you that, there's a lot of my friends, they said, Rod, I would never become a landlord. Some of the stories.
And that's the thing, but that's the reality.
Drug factories, people have drug drugs in my house, and like the police come and they think I'm involved. And
like, it's not me.
Seriously. So I'm very, very cautious now. I let my properties. They've got a pass reference set. I mean, still, I've had 2 bad ones this year. That slipped through the net, but I'm very cautious now. When you've been hit, every time you have a house back, it's a minimum $4,000, loss of rent, court costs. The skips.
It's damage.
Because they're always hoarders.
How do you, but I guess it's hard to, and I know you said you got criteria now, but it's hard to, I assume, assess, because people obviously put their best foot forward when they get it.
Everybody reference. But to me, why would you give somebody your property for 200 grand, say, if they just give you £1,000, give them the keys to your home? Just because they turn up with £1,000. But you say, can I borrow your car, please? I'll give you 50 quid. But do you want a copy of my passport or not? No, just have it for you. No, check them out. What's my,
Because I remember in the WhatsApp group, there was like top 10 things to look for when, you got new tenants. And one of them is like, if they come through and they're stinking and they're smelly, or they don't take off their shoes.
Little things.
I've chosen people. When one property I had 30 viewing requests, and how I chose it, the ones that took their shoes off.
Common courtesy.
But it's good. You see, you got cream carpet. They're going to look after your property.
Show respect.
And the other one, I'm learning all the while. The one that I took on another property, constantly slagging off a landlord. My landlord was shit. My landlord was this. And she started slagging me. I'm thinking it's you. It's you. So basically, on that list as well is people who slag off their landlord.
Landlords, see all the jobs. I always see this thing about damp. Everyone always says the
compensation.
What is it? Then opening the windows and stuff.
I had a bad situation recently. A house that I've owned for 13 years. I've had a few issues, but never a problem with
that.
But I had some problems with, they had a baby and drying wet nappies. So it's like a lot of black mold on there. But you know what? They've gone now. Wiped it up. It's so easy. Just wiped it with a cloth.
Get rid of it.
It's fine. There's people in there now, no issue.
Yeah.
But they thought it,
they kind of
condensation. There's a difference between condensation and damp. Damp is when you have those yellow marks on the wall.
Yeah.
And it's only you don't have damp in upstairs rooms.
Yeah.
It's only on the ground floor. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that black mold is condensation. Okay. It's like hot air hitting a cold wall. So you need to ventilate.
Ventilation.
Like the body, when you sleep, the body loses a pint of water. Yeah. Everybody's body. So when you sleep, that's what I'm saying. You should open windows unless you leave.
Get so pint,
And then you sleep in someone else's bed when you go to a hotel.
I never pint on a pint. Yeah, not nice. But there's this also thing that I never really used to understand. I understand it a bit better now, but I wonder if you can talk on it. When a tenant comes in, and then they're willing to pay like 6 months of rent.
Is
that money today?
You know our friend Bobby, he sort of mentioned that, but at first I thought, I'm like, that's a good thing. You've got guaranteed rent for 6 months. But I've heard a lot of landlords say, never do that.
Listen, I've had people blatantly ask me, I want to grow some drugs in your property. Wow. Just because I'm up for that shit. You know?
What to your face?
Yeah, they actually said that one of them, she contacted me online on a portal. And they actually, I didn't write him with their name. They want to do a little grow at my house.
You know what? Hats off for
shocking.
At least they're being honest, because most people.
But listen, I am squeaky clean. I cannot afford to have stuff like that.
Squeaky clean.
No way. Especially, we can't get away with shit. No way.
Yeah. But what is it with them paying sort of up front?
Because that's why they want.
Is that always the case?
Greedy like I fell for
cash as well.
The ones that grew drugs in my property, I fell for that. They gave me 3 months rent in advance. And they sublet it to somebody else who grew drugs. And first I heard about it, I was just getting my cat. He paid me 3 months in advance, and they were paying, But
they were great tenants.
But they wrecked my property. It's not worth it. And they've done it to another friend of my mum's, where I think the estate agent was in on it. Because they were managing it, and they managed to do 2 lots of grows. If it was managed by property, they should have been doing inspections. So basically, this woman's £15,000 worth of damage. So it's not worth it. They give you 6 months rent, it won't even come into damage. Because there's extension cables on all the doors, holes in the ceilings. There's bags. I had to have about 3 skips. Never again.
That's terrible, man.
But I didn't want to put people off that, because these things happen.
It's just part of it, isn't it?
Everything you do.
If it was easy,
That's true.
Yeah.
So for kind of new landlords, what other sort of tips or things should they kind of keep an eye out for? So we've got the kind of tenants wanting to pay 3 to 6 months worth of rent up front.
Another one as well, which I've had this rule for many years. I deviated from it, and again it happened. People in new relationships, I had said, basically they've met each other in a nightclub the weekend. Look, come on, I love you. And it's happened again. They're split up within a week of moving in.
Oh dear!
Don't get me wrong, they always pay the rent.
Is there a question on the thing? Like, are you in a new relationship?
How long have you been together?
You just ask casually how long you've been together.
Yeah.
If it's less than 6 months or they've never lived together, I'm not going to be your experiment.
Because
I've seen it. Imagine, I've had thousands of tenants over the years. You fall for little things. You know what I mean? If you're you turn up late for a viewing, are you going to be late for your rent? I'm saying, would you turn up for an interview for a job late and still expect to get it?
No. Yeah, that's true. It's the little things.
No, you wouldn't do.
It says a lot about your character.
Yeah, of course.
It's first impressions as well.
Yeah,
it does go far. So there's a question that's been going through my head, because I understand the difficulty of it in terms of accumulating a deposit, especially in today's generation, especially living in London. Apparently the average price of a house in London is 600k. You need 10% of that, that's 60k. Now, how can someone build up that cash along with, you know, doing a 9 to 5? And I'm guessing it's being
So good.
So how can someone build up their capital whilst working as well? Is there options to go into property like doing service accommodation and HMO and still?
Well, I'm saying start a little part-time job. You know, I've got a cleaner. One of the cleaners who works for me, and she saves £1,400 a month from cleaning. There's a lot of part-time jobs you can do if you want to get into property. Cleaning essays is really good money. You know,
just go.
there's a lot of part-time jobs you can. You know, like just cutting people's lawn. One of my gardener that I used to use. 80 grand a year made from cutting people's lawn.
Oh God! I'm changing my profession.
The top 3 professions I would say is a plumber.
Yeah, plumbing definitely.
Kitchen fitters.
Yeah.
My kitchen fitter charged me £700 for a day's work.
Wow.
A day.
But he did a brilliant job because I did use a cheap kitchen fitter, and basically I had to replace units because they were that bad. So I will never don't cut corners. It's an art. And photographers.
Yes,
Photographers.
yeah, killing it.
That's it. To me, you don't have to have a degree to earn good money.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who can save lives earns less than somebody who can plaster walls.
It's
mad, isn't it? It's mad, isn't it? It's crazy. I've got a doctor who is on property, and a plumber. The plumber earns £5 grand a month. He told me he went to 5. His rent's got to go up, by the way. He slipped out. He earns £5 grand a month, and the doctor, she doesn't earn nowhere near that.
It's crazy.
You know, so somebody who could save your life earns more than somebody who does a gas certificate.
That's actually crazy. You know, the plumbing thing I noticed. Sorry. The plumbing thing, because I've seen it, because I looked into it, and I'm like, actually, you know what? I might, because they make a lot, killing.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I love is that the way life is now is that you don't necessarily have to go and get that certificate or that degree to be able to make money or to make a living. Like you said, you can, you know, make a living in property without even owning it. And I just think, I'm just trying to think where we'll be in the next 10, 15, 20 years, whether we'll have more ways of twisting it and flipping properties and that sort of thing. And that was another thing I was going to mention. Have you ever flipped as well?
Oh yeah,
It's like just buying and selling.
yeah. But I haven't sold many. I like to keep them and refinance.
Just
it.
hold it. Yeah.
You know, basically, if you get the right property, you can buy it, refurbish it, and refinance it, and get all your money back, so you own a property.
So what can you go into detail about it? Because I don't think I fully understand that. So
Okay, an example. Not that I've done this. Say you buy a house for £100,000, right?
Yeah.
You spend £20,000 on it.
Okay.
So now your outlay is £120,000.
Yeah.
You get the house revalued at £200,000. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the house value is £200,000. Yeah. You get a 75% loan to value. Mm-hmm. So you're now allowed to borrow 75% of that £200,000.
Yeah.
So you get £150,000 mortgage minus the original 120 that you spent. So you'll get 30,000 cash back, and you own a property with none of your own money.
So this is the term that no money down.
Yeah. Well, they call it buy, refurb, refinance. Buy, refurb. Because I know people have built whole portfolios on there where you don't have none of your own money. Brilliant strategy.
Obviously, there's a time frame between that because you're talking about, you know, development, going in there, refurbishing it. So that could be 6 to 12 months. But then at the end of it, you could be pulling out cash.
Yeah, cash.
And you recycle that money into
next one.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to do HMO. I mean, sometimes you could. An example. I've bought a few repossessions. Sometimes you can buy a house, right? It hasn't got a kitchen in or a bathroom, and it's unmortgageable. Mm-hmm. One property, I didn't buy it actually in the end because it got gazumped. There's a property it was repossessed, so they had no kitchen, no bathroom, so it went for £60,000. Put the kitchen and the bathroom in, it's worth £150,000.
Just like that.
Listen, a property is unmortgageable if it hasn't got a kitchen or a bathroom. If we rip that kitchen out there, rip that bathroom, this could only go to cash buyers.
Yeah.
And the estate agents aren't going to put the money in. They won't put the money in.
Yeah.
So the mortgage company, they don't want to spend it, but they just want to get rid of it. It's like a fire sale. So rip that kitchen out, this flat. Rip that kitchen out, it's a shell.
Yeah.
So it'd be like half price.
Yeah.
So if you know what you're looking for and you're armed with that information, you can pick up some bargains.
Because cash buyers are the ones that can really take advantage of discounted prices, especially if something's running low in terms of a flat, whereas leases coming to, you know, it's like 20 years left on it. That's when cash buyers can go in and add some value.
And just change the legislation on extending leases, so it's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, well, we'll see when it comes into play. But yeah,
I don't love flats as well, really.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I just don't. I've got quite a few flats. I just don't like paying service charge. I'm too tight.
Yeah, that's it.
You know,
You don't know what they're going to do. Turn around and say, yeah.
Service charge here would probably be about 1,500.
Okay, yeah.
1,500 a year, 150. It's probably a bit more actually because there's a lift.
Yeah, is there ground rent as well? On top?
Yeah. But saying if you were to that to me, I would say as well to somebody, right? Example, if you were going to buy, I know you're from London, so if you were going to buy like a flat for £250,000, and your mortgage was say £700 a month, and your service charge is £150 a month, that's £850 a month you're paying for that house. You'd be better getting a larger mortgage and having £850 all on your mortgage. That's what I'd say. Yeah,
I can give you a good example of that. So I was going to buy a flat in Grays, just outside of Essex, and at that time I was like below market value, great price, whatever. So I put in an offer, went through with my mortgage, everything's going through. I got the service charge and ground rent, and it came up to about £200 a month.
Yeah.
And I started calculating exactly what you're saying. That money that I'm, alright, the mortgage is super cheap, but then you're paying an extra £200.
And it goes up every year because when these developers do these flats, they sell the lease to pension companies. Yeah. So basically they put it every year, and you can't get away from that. Every year it goes. I got one of my properties. The service charge started at £26 a month. The service charge now is more than the mortgage. Yeah, I'll never be able to sell that flat.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah, I know.
Because I've sort of seen articles of families saying they can't move to a bigger house for their family because of that kind of these lease things and these things.
Don't get me wrong, I would still buy it. I've bought leasehold flats, but the lease is really cheap.
So it's about just checking, doing due diligence, just making sure you know what's in the
I was going to give you a little tip as well. That ex-council flats are really good. The lease is a lot cheaper.
Ex-council flats,
okay.
Especially when
like
people
half
got
the price. Example, one of mine. I'll be on camera. I shouldn't say this. But one of mine, my service charge on my flat is £400 a year. What? On the posh block opposite, £2,500.
Big difference.
Yeah, the joke. We get the same rent. Oh my god! Their flat is worth 250 grand. Mine is worth about 170. We get the same rent, and my overhead's a lot
cheaper.
It's a lot lower. Yeah. I think it's just those little things to just keep your eyes, keep your wits.
There's different strategies. So like, obviously we're not in a position to be cash buyers, but there's stuff like assisted sales. Yeah. So you could find someone who's got a very bad, condition house, and you could almost go in partnership with them.
That's a brilliant idea. Rather than doing a flip, if you were to flip that house, you'd have to pay stamp duty and legal fees. Yeah. Do a deal with the vendor.
So you find just
agree a price. Listen,
in that moment,
you agree a price. Say, okay, your house is tired. It's worth 150. Yeah. I will spend the 20,000 doing it up. New kitchen, bathroom, so then it owes us 170. Okay. That goes as 170, and you just split the difference in the uplift.
So if it's 200k on the market,
it's 50k, isn't it? Because you bought it. They bought it for say it's worth 150. You spend the 15 or 20 grand on it. Yeah, you just split the uplift. Yeah.
And that's another strategy that people.
They get their money back. You get your 20 grand back, and they split. It's a win-win.
You could almost double the money that you put in. Yeah, that's better than any bank.
It's in the space of a couple months, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think that's also an important thing that people should also have in mind. If you do have money in the bank, whether it's 5-10k, there could be possibilities out.
Of course, don't let it sit there on 1%. That's just mad.
You might even have a family member who's got a house that's not in a great position, but they're wanting to sell, and you could be like, "Listen, uncle, whatever." Obviously, family is a bit difficult, but if you have the paperwork in place, I don't mind putting 10,000 into it, and then when it comes to the point of sell, whatever that profit is, we split between you. It's a win-win.
Win-win, and you're helping the family as well.
And then you got 20k in the bank. Just put in 10. That's double.
Oh. I feel like there's just so much to learn from property and just like gain in terms of in sort of investments or the different strategies.
I feel like the first hurdle is capital though.
Yeah.
You have to.
I think that seems to be capital, the biggest. You know what you're doing with in conjunction with somebody. Yeah. It's a brilliant idea. You're learning. It's like a little bit of a mentoring thing. You're learning. 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Yeah. So personally for me, I've got a service accommodation in Brick Lane. So I partnered up with a woman who had 8 units. And I spoke to her, I was like, I'm involved, like, I just really want to partner up with you. And then I've been doing it for about 4 months, and the amount that I've learned from just learning from someone else in the industry.
Listen, that £4,000. If you were to do one of these courses, you could spend £20,000.
That's the difference.
And you're learning on the job. Yeah.
So there is education out there, but I feel like the best way personally for me to learn is actually to be with someone in the industry and stand by them. And I think you do courses that's similar, like the real deal training.
Yeah, the way ours works as well, rather we never ever do big. I'm not interested in going into hotels like this one, the one that we do in the next couple of weeks. We've got 6 people. We're going to be in here. We're going to show them where we got the where we got the stuff, how to set up on the OTA, how to dress the beds, what to look for a property. Really it's the real deal. How to avoid parties. I've been doing this since March. I've not had one party because there's things that you can put into your listing that
it puts people off. Just
the little things.
If you have a party in your apartment, it can be game over.
Oh man,
of course it could ruin everything. It could ruin everything. So like saying that's where let's say I never want to do it. I never want to stop in a hotel, selling. Because basically those free ones, when it's free, there's always an upsell. Afterwards. There's no upsell to any course. And they got. When people come on, they get access to a private WhatsApp group where you can ask your questions. And a couple of our mentees, I'll go down to their house. It was really one of the mentees I went to a couple of weeks ago. They got a house and they were worried that it only had 1 bathroom. I showed them a way you can get an extra toilet there. The soil pipe is there. This is like years of experience. I went down because he went on our course. I went down to his house. I showed him where you can get an extra toilet in. You got a bathroom with a toilet, and next door you can get a separate toilet. That's more than enough for the contractor market.
I like that. It's that kind of like expertise that sometimes you need as well, especially when you're starting up. That someone else could actually give you like recommendations. Usually you turn to a builder for that information, but you're just going there checking his progress, and you're like, oh, by the way, bathroom right there. That's it.
But straight away I walk in a house as well. Like somebody I know bought a house and they had the survey done on it, and I was saying, that extension is single skinned. You're gonna have problems with damp on there, and they paid a surveyor £500 who didn't pick that up. But I was instantly able to, because he bought so many places, he instantly
just have that.
I know when I walk in a house, I'll tap the bay windows for loose plaster. First, you look at the electric meter because that's going to be £600. How old's the boiler? Instantly I could walk around the house like a quantity surveyor, I think they call it. Oh no, that's going to cost me £22,000 to do up. Just like
it's
that. All in your head.
I think that's another thing that you just point on, and I think there's something that you could share there. Even when people are buying their first property, they don't know what exactly to look for. So, like, if someone's going for a viewing, what certain things should they look for? First
thing I always look for, the most important things, the boiler, and the electric board. If you've got them old meters, the old ones with the fuses, it's going to be between between £400 and £600 to replace that electric board. And also look in the rooms, how many plug sockets I got. If it's only got one plug socket in all the rooms, in every room, that probably might need. You can get away with it sometimes where you can add another socket to, but if every room's only got one socket, it could end up rewiring. And that you're talking
couple grand.
Yeah, couple of grand. Depends on how big the place is. A flat you might get for £1,500, £2,000. So those are things that bargain that you think's a bargain. If you've got to have a new boiler, £1,500, £2,000, rewired £2,000, and the electric board, it could still
adds up.
So that bargain that might not be a bargain. So you need to know again, like. It's not so much in houses, but I've got a lot of ground floor flats actually. That's from a lot of condensation. Ground floor flats seem to be, I've seen new build ground floor flats with damp.
The new builds, they don't seem too great. They seem like they're just paper. I've seen a lot of people just like qualities and there.
Boxes.
And
they're tiny as well.
Hollow walls.
This is the size of 2 flats, really, isn't it?
This one's massive.
It's huge, isn't it? This is like 1,200 square feet, isn't it?
Nice.
There's actually a corridor that you can walk down. You can play bowling.
But I've heard this one. Apparently, sometimes when people go to a house, they go to the sort of window. And they kind of like jump to see.
Oh yeah.
What's that one?
What it is as well. The joists that go through the wall.
Yeah.
If the wall is damp, sometimes they rot, and the joist that would be in there, that would be rotten. So you jump on the you jump on the boards, and basically it's not an expensive job. It costs you about £300 to replace that one. But these things, when you're looking for a view, you're on a viewing, try and find as many faults as possible. The more faults you find, the more you get your price down. So basically, if that flat was £150,000, well, it needs a new boiler, that's £2,000. It needs rewiring, that's £2,000. All this is information to
You
really
leverage,
negotiate your
you
price.
just leverage,
So don't
yeah.
walk away. Something I did learn off somebody said you should always make an offer on every property that you go. If you don't like it, you hate it. But if it was this price, would you buy it? You know what I mean? So I hate it because I've done that. I've ended up buying a house that I didn't really like. But the agent rang me. We'll just make an offer. Okay, then 80 grand. And I said, okay, they've accepted it. Damn. But that house is worth twice that price now, and I didn't even want the house.
But just putting an offer in.
Yeah, I didn't even want it.
But on that, on people who are looking to buy, first-time buyers, maybe they've gone to see a house or flat. It isn't terrible.
Yeah.
It's in decent shape, but they're still looking to get an offer because it would help just with mortgage payments, save a bit of money. Are there any sort of statements or phrases they can use, or is there just a good tactic to kind of, just kind of put a bid in, maybe get a little offer in, or is it just you just put in asking price?
I just put loads of lower asking prices
And just see what happens.
So I'm ready to move. But if you're an investor, you're classed as a cash-time buyer, a first-time buyer, so you've got nothing to sell.
Yeah.
So you rather than somebody's got something to sell, that's one of the things is state your position. Always try and get your mortgage offer, your decision in principle, so you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Some agents, what I've done, I've had to have the mortgage from the estate agents because that's the deal that, I'm not even going to mention the name of the agent, but they force you to have their...
Oh, with them. Yeah.
But you have to do it. You have to play the game.
Yeah.
Basically, I can get my mortgages done for a lot cheaper, but I've had to go with there who charged me 500 quid, but I'll get the deal.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of underhand, but it is what it is.
Game's the game sort of thing. Okay. Yeah, so
But
I think...
if you have to do that, if the deal is worth it, I would do it. I would do it rather than being picky. I'm not doing that. I've got my own mortgage.
It seems like it smells like a small price to pay for.
Yeah, it's
for what
cheaper
it
paying
is.
a saucer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you could be paying 3,000, 5,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So who's basically just doing the same?
But basically, if you do have the mortgage through them, that means they're more likely to keep your offer. They won't take any of the higher offers because they're getting an extra £500 profit. They're getting £500 profit from you, plus they're getting the mortgage, the money from the mortgage lender.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's more in their interest to take your offer.
Yeah.
So that's a good way.
As opposed to a new person who's coming in.
Yeah, the agent can be your best friend. People don't bet cutting agents out. They can be your best friend.
Yeah.
And
it means you won't get gazumps.
Yeah, exactly. They'll keep your offer.
happens,
If another offer comes in, you say, "Oh no, we'll stick your hands on."
We're good. They've put
Because
I think that's always the question when I was like going through the process, first time buyer. What's your situation? What's your situation? Have you got?
But so I got my decision in principle. I've got my mortgage offer.
Yeah.
I'm ready to
So you're a
What
strong
they'll do,
candidate.
Excitement as well.
I'm good to
go.
go.
More now.
they'll sometimes invite you in to see their mortgage offer, even though you've got a mortgage in place.
Yeah.
Imagine it could be worth an extra £1,000 to them. So basically, the vendor who's selling it, they're going to get £1.5, £2,000 from them, plus an extra £1,000 from you. If they, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so don't try and cut them out. Don't try and cut them out.
Back in the front end.
Their revenue has gone down a lot, because the tenant fee ban. So
Can't charge.
yeah. Because agents will speak to people regarding rent to rents now because they can charge companies. The tenant fee ban is gone. If you like renting for you to live in, they can't charge you.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to do rent to rent on it, it's a company let, they could charge you between £350 and £600. So agents are a lot more open to dealing with.
Yeah.
Before, we don't do it. We don't.
Yeah,
but
we're
it's
not
another-
interested. But now it's like,
But letting
we
agents
can talk.
They will be on your side. They'll be on your side more so.
Yeah, I haven't quite experienced that yet, but
It's the way you
language,
yeah.
yeah.
Have you got limited company? Have you set
Yeah,
up?
I've got
Yeah.
limited
Okay, cool.
company.
Yeah.
I deal with sorts of,
Do it properly, man. Set it up and go with your card and go with your suit and everything.
Yeah.
Don't think I'm going to wear these Nike Jordans. No, they're not going to appreciate that. You're going. You know.
I've got one on board. I'm just like tackling more. So it's really building that relationship. Once you have that relationship with estate agents, it does take you a long way, but it's not easy, and I admit that. But I think once you do have them on side, then they're your best friends. Honestly.
And is that the best way to approach sort of agents? Because I hear people who do the kind of like postal
To me,
letters.
I'm doing postal, 60p a stamp.
60 first class. That's too much.
When you're paying you've got to send out
Thousands.
You've got to spend out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Couple thousand, yeah.
Listen to this. I've got a deal, right? I dropped a letter handwritten with my handwriting's terrible. I dropped a handwritten note through a letter to the door box of a vendor.
Yeah.
Handwritten, They rang me back the next day.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah. So
they
they
have like the four sign outside.
Yeah.
So you just like, let me write them a letter.
I say, I wonder if
I
Just
see that.
And basically, I got a deal from that, and no stamps. I saved myself 60 pence.
Just on foot down the road. There you go.
You don't know people's situation.
Yeah.
Another one, I know people, that's not happened to me personally, where somebody did a landlord letter, and 18 months later, the landlord contacted them.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term thing.
long-term
You've got to
process.
be different. That's why a lot of people put them in blue envelopes or yellow envelopes.
Make it stand out.
Yeah. So they're more likely to open it. Don't put it in a brown. They'll think it's a bill.
HMRC.
Oh, here we go again. Oh man, yeah. There's different ways. You just have to, because I feel like the easiest way is get your mortgage, go see a estate agent. But there are other ways. You can actually just find a landlord and speak.
Yeah,
to them.
and you could work with the landlord as well if they got a tired property. At the moment, there's a lot of tired HMOs where they haven't got en suites and they haven't got, what I mean.
Yeah.
So you could work. What I mean. A good way of meeting landlords is going to the council do these networking meetings.
Of the community ones. I've
Yeah.
heard about them, yeah.
And there's a lot of landlords are looking to get out. Because at the time I used to go to them about 2 years ago. I wasn't looking to take on, but there's landlords used to stand up. I'm an HM landlord. I'm looking to sell some of my portfolio.
Just like that. Hi Tony, want some cookies?
I wasn't interested in taking on anymore.
Yeah.
So ever since I started this group, I'm thinking, you know what?
That's actually a good.
Guess what? The guy who started McDonald's, Roy Kroc.
Yeah.
He didn't start till he was 55. I'm thinking, why am I writing myself off? He didn't start McDonald's till he was 55. So why am I writing myself off?
Loads of time.
Of course.
There's opportunities everywhere, right?
Yeah, of course. You don't write yourself out. You hear about people retiring within few years of them retiring, they're dead.
Yeah.
Just keep on,
Keep active, keep doing what you have to do.
Keep going.
Because even on those ones that you find from other landlords, you can pass that on to other people.
Of course.
that on,
Again, because some people haven't got the time. If you're getting these deals and you can't take them on, it's
Pass it on.
It's
You package it up and you pass
Package
it on.
up and you've got to make sure you got your compliances. So there's
Do all the right checks and
registrations,
everything.
But you could
people are very hungry for deals, aren't they? Really. So
Yeah.
I had a couple of people approach me yesterday about it, and I was like, "Look, this is my details," and I send them on to you, and hopefully with time, they're like, "Okay,
Trust
here's
this guy is
2,000,
credible.
£3,000."
Yeah. You're laughing.
If
That's
you can
crazy.
spot, it's hard work. You have to go to the views, you have to check them out, you have to have that relationship with the agent, but.
and
Personally, I don't think it's
non-disclosure or something isn't like that. You need
Yeah,
you need to tie them up.
You need
It's
to
very
make sure-
easily to have these deals taken off you. Very
So
easy.
you have like this agreement that okay, this is the price I'm going in for. Can you hold it for the next 7 days until I find an investor?
Yeah. It's the whole due
and,
diligence,
and,
like you
and
said.
one, proof of funds because there's so many bullshitters.
Qualifying investors. You need to have.
yeah.
Do you actually have the money in the bank?
Is it your money?
Ask to see it. Have you got the deposit? Have you got the deposit?
Yeah.
Don't because it looks bad on you if you waste the agent time. They'll never deal with you again.
Yeah.
It's a relationship thing, isn't it? Yeah. So you have to qualify your investors and everything.
Just
like
that due diligence piece.
Yeah, property has always been one thing that was spoken to me from younger, and I think my uncle turned around to me when I was like 18, and he's like, "Get your property," because he had properties, but he never taught me.
Oh really?
Yeah, he never told me. He just told me.
And I bet properties were cheap then as well.
So I'm
Yeah,
like,
of
damn
course,
it. But I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's what is key about your group as well and what you're doing is that visibility. I think also with technology playing a big factor is like seeing it, and also you can find how you can do it. When he was telling me at 18 there was books, and I wasn't really keen in books.
The thing is, what I do think is I had no encouragement. In fact, I had a lot of negativity, and I've done okay. But you guys, you got so much free stuff. All I knew is, bloody hell, this property. The first one I bought for like 13 grand, and a few years later it doubled. I'm thinking,
oh my
God, now.
Give me a time machine.
Listen, I bought mine for 30, and next door came up as a repossession for 9.5 grand.
Wow.
And I wanted to buy it because it's cheaper. Imagine you buy a house for £130,000, and next door comes up for 95, better condition than yours.
Bargain.
But people
Bargain.
telling, don't be stupid. You're only 19. You can't buy 2 houses.
But you know what I think a lot of it is I think a lot of people, even now, they tend to put their fears onto you. They reflect their fears and their kind of like conscious thoughts onto you, and it's like
One thing as well, when people, when people hear I'm into property, but what if the tenant doesn't pay? Well, there's an insurance policy that you can take out if they don't pay. But what if the boiler breaks down? There's an insurance policy to take out there. But what if?
Just do it. Just act. It's about execution, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think just like you said, just having those fears, but still just taking action.
Listen, I don't know everything. I've only been doing SA since March last year. I don't know everything. I'm learning from Garfield,
Everyone in the group.
and Ronnie and Dennis, and there's a lot of inspirational people in the group. Garfield is a man for HMOs. HMOs.
He knows his stuff.
Unbelievable. You know what I mean?
It's mad. What do you think? Question for me. What do you think the future of property is? So with all the different strategies in now, the way the market is going, it's hard to say.
I can't predict that. All I know is they can't build land. They can't make land. We live on an island.
I've always heard that. Everyone has always said that to me.
Something, I owned a takeaway once, actually, because one thing I always think logically, people always need somewhere to live and they always need somewhere to eat.
Food.
So I owned a takeaway, a sandwich bar, and I'm into property. they always...
It makes sense. No, it makes sense.
Yeah. Even if you're homeless, you need to eat.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And if you're homeless, you want a place to live eventually. So
and the UK is an island, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it's just limited space.
So basically, you buy anything now. One thing I always say to people, I've lost properties arguing over a few £1,000s. There's one property I wanted to buy, and they wanted 90 for it. I offered 88, and I thought, no, it's not. No, that obsession. That obsession. That obsession people have. It's got to be below market value. You've got to be. Don't have that obsession. If it works for you, just buy it. I was arguing over £2,000. That property is now worth 160, and I have to drive past it every day.
I remember you posted.
I was arguing over £2,000.
The property there's like, no. You could.
I don't drive past it. I go like that.
Don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Don't be obsessed with below market value. If it works on paper,
it works.
And it works. Just
I think it's just about having the right numbers, isn't it? Making sure
the numbers and the knowledge and the if you
numbers
know
and knowledge.
Because I've bought properties that nobody else. I'm thinking one of the properties I bought, and I thought there's only me and one other bidder, and I'm thinking, why is nobody else? It's right next to a hospital. You can turn that garage into a people don't see what I see. I'm thinking there's me and one other bidder. And I thought nobody else saw it. It's 5 minutes walk to the hospital. Seriously, you could see the hospital, but nobody else saw what I saw.
I think just because you have that experience and just having spent some time with you, just looking at all the different properties you have and just the way you assess things, I think you just have this sort of framework of the way you see things. And I think that puts you in a very powerful position to be like, that's a winner. That's going to cost me, if I buy 10 mini fridges now, I can sell 5 for like £50 if I bought them for 25 and
more money free.
And I think because you're kind of in that kind of powerful mindset, I'm like, I can see why. Like you're ahead of the curve, and it's amazing to see how 20 plus years of experience has just built you to this point where everything for you is like easy. Like you said, you walk in, you're like, okay, that's gonna cost me 15, 20. No, that's gonna cost me. Okay, I want it, kind of thing. And I'm just like, I'm just here like, whoa.
My friend
it's inspiring.
I kept on using the expression action taker. A friend of mine on that group is called Dennis. He's like shit hot on essays. He's taught me a lot of that. But he mentioned a property at 11 o'clock. He says, look at this property. 11 o'clock at night, I'm going up to Digbeth to look at this property and check it out and check out the area. 11 o'clock at night, because I need to do it there and then. And I worked out, you know what, it's a bit too industrial. It's a nice property, but it's probably worth a bit of money in the end. But you've got factories next door. It's going to be a few years before you get your money back. But it's still up and coming. Yeah. If you had a spare 700 grand, that'd be worth it.
Anyone with 700 grand,
believe it or not, that 700 grand property, which is a bit industrial now, in 5 years' time, that'd be a million. You know? But to me, it wasn't fair. It's out of my league at the moment to land back that kind of money.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, would you ever move into like developments and stuff? Because I feel like that seems to be the flavour.
I know everybody wants to do it. With developments, if things go wrong, you can lose your house. So for me, I'm not risk averse. I don't mind, but I know people have done office to residential and they can't sell them. They're sitting on a £4 million loan. So it doesn't always work out. So I'm it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm happy with my little crap deals and But
no,